Hey guys, so yes, we're going to talk about geass, the power to convince people to do things. This series ran on Cartoon Network. It's actually pretty popular, which is not surprising, I guess. It's a very complex series in a lot of ways, and it's a series that you could talk about for quite some time, especially when they get into Ragnarok and stuff. That really kind of got interesting, and I'm interested to see where they take it in the prequel series that they're doing. But I think what I'm going to start out talking about is the negatives. I just kind of want to get them out of the way. And I'm going to start with probably the most substantial complaint that people have about the series, which is in the second season, there's a few episodes where the plot's a little light, where the episodes really could have been condensed. But having said that, I think that it's not anywhere near as bad as any major shonen, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. There's been periods where, I mean, you could like infinitely shrink that series, but this one's got like 2 to 3 episodes that really weren't needed in Code Geass. So it's kind of it's a legitimate complaint. It's just in relativity, it's not that bad, I guess. In relativity, what am I talking about, planet? The other thing that I'll say is that the characters, there's aspects of the characters in the second season especially that become kind of unbelievable. Rollo, I believe his name, the brother of Lelouch. There's a point where his relationship with Lelouch becomes really difficult, and then they just seem to instantly work shit out, and it kind of doesn't fit. It doesn't work. It's not believable. Of course, we're talking about a series which gives somebody the power to, convince people to do things. I mean, it's a relative statement. The other thing that I'll say is that the fan service complaint thing, look, I'm going to be real with you. There's a lot more series with a lot more fan service, but I think, and it doesn't really bother me that much. I do think that it's unnecessary, but it's kind of something that just comes up in anime a lot. So I've kind of come to accept it, I guess, which, whether that's good or bad, I'll let you judge. But I've kind of accepted it in some animes. So it doesn't really bother me. But I do think that the reason why this series gets so much flack for it is that it's probably the series with the most fan service on Cartoon Network, where a lot of people, when they're starting out watching anime, actually get a lot of their stuff. Or used to, I guess I should say, because they don't play half as much anime as they used to. So, it definitely had the most fan service in comparison to any other show on Adult Swim that I can think of off the top of my head. Though I'm sure you could pick out a couple other series if you went back far enough. But I think that's why it catches so much flack. But having said that, I think to move on to more positive aspects of it, the first thing I'll note is the futuristic, history-changing events. Japan was invaded in 2010. Everybody, they were turned into Area 11. You may not know this about me, but I love when storylines do that. When they change history just a little bit. Like, I mean, they don't get unbelievable and they make giant airships out of, battleships or shit like that. Or aliens come down and give people a special ability to grow extra super corn. That's not what I mean. When they just tweak history a little bit, just like, well, America was still under English empire or English control, and they ended up deciding to rule the rest of the world. Little tweaks like that. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a little tweak at all. But more believable tweaks, I guess, are very fascinating to me. And I think how they set up the whole background story was really interesting. Especially, there's one point where they talk about the complexities of glass and how it represents aspects of life, and it was that to me was pretty interesting too. The other thing that I absolutely love about the series, just in general, is they get into Ragnarok, which I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with the prequel series, how they explain that. If you don't know what Ragnarok is, check out your Norse old religion books or myth books or whatever. They talk about it all the time. It's a really kind of interesting storyline. But those big aspects are really interesting, but I think where the series really does something that most series don't, with the exception of maybe Death Note, and I can name a few others, but Death Note's probably the best known. So, is that it makes the main character not a good guy, but not necessarily a bad guy. Just kind of a guy that's doing bad things, if you will. It humanizes somebody doing shit that's questionable, I guess. And by doing this, it makes every action they take, you know, whether they call up, you know, Shirley or whatever, or whether they decide to, you know, blow up somebody's house or something, that it makes it incredibly fascinating. It makes it really interesting because every decision they make is, you know, you're weighing it. You know, you're saying, well, is this guy a bad guy? Is this guy a good guy? So it's kind of an interesting component to the series. The tactics that he uses are interesting, though. If I didn't mention it in negatives, his tactics kind of get repetitive. I mean, it's like he blows up a mountain and then he relies on a volcano or something, or a tornado. You know what I'm saying? It kind of becomes a repetitive thing. I think the other aspect of it is that the characters themselves are fairly developed. I think Shirley's memory loss, though a lot of people didn't like the whole love story thing, I thought was compelling. And I thought that her death was one that it was like, it really pissed me off. I guess I should put spoiler alert, but I guess it's too late now. But no, I'll probably put it in front. But I think that the other aspect of it is that the Rollo character or whatever was kind of annoying. Like, he got on my nerves, but I thought he definitely added to the overall plot. The witch, I'll call her that, was also really interesting because even though they explain a lot of it towards the end, they don't really explain that much. It is really frustrating, but you know, it's one of the things that's really interesting about the show because you don't know really what's going on. What is she inherently? Like, you got pieces of the puzzle, but they're not coming together. And it was interesting to see that. I thought that the one thing that was weird was the whole father, the point where Lelouch runs into his father, you know, at the final battle scene, and, well, with his father, I should say. It was an interesting scene because I don't know, the first couple times I didn't get it. I think I got it the last time I saw it, but it just was like, it doesn't feel very realistic, but at the same time, it feels like something he'd do. If I'm trying not to put in too many spoilers, but then I just blew the big one. So, like 10 minutes ago. But beyond that, I think the mecha battle scenes weren't that complex. They weren't that great, but I think that they didn't take away from the overall plot, which was a positive, which sometimes this happens in mecha, where it just becomes about, you know, the mecha, and that's not a bad thing. This series has just got a lot more to it. Though I do think that the arms race aspect got a little old. The thing that I'll say about the ending is that I think that in a way it was one of the most beautiful, well, not beautiful, one of the most completing endings, I guess is what I should say. And it definitely rounded out the series. Frankly, if the ending hadn't been that, I don't think I'd be half as satisfied. I think that really made what Lelouch was doing a lot more understandable and a lot more, I guess it made him seem more like a good guy in the end, which it's kind of like A Boy and His Dog. Have you ever seen that movie? Don't see that movie if you don't want to, but the ending really kind of makes the series, and I don't want to give it away, or the movie, though I would not recommend that movie for like anybody, though I like it, but it definitely rounds it out. Like I said, I am looking forward to the next, you know, the prequel series, see what happens. I know some people said, you know, Lelouch lived somehow, you know, there's a point at the end, but, you know, it turns out that everybody says that's not the case anymore. So we'll see what happens. I'm really looking forward to it. If you guys like this series, definitely comment. You can rate, You can do just about anything you want. The one thing I'll say is about the technicals, I guess you should get into that, is that the animation was good, though I understand the people's complaint about, you know, everybody was pencil thinned. I just don't share it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I understand how that could get annoying. It just didn't bother me. I think that the voice actors were, you know, great. I mean, bravo. Like, really good voice actors. I think that the background animation wasn't necessarily 100% great, but I think it was decent enough to pass. What else to mention? I guess I should go into the whole love story thing, the added component, but I don't really want to, but I think I'll mention it briefly. I think that the whole love story with Shirley, though that's not really a love story, was something that doesn't seem necessary, like if you're looking at it from the outside, but I think really added a component of, you know, Lelouch can constantly turn back, you know, up till when, you know, that door gets closed. It was closed fairly abruptly. But up until that moment, it's like he could still turn back, but at that point, there's really no going back. So I think it definitely was symbolic, and it definitely made the series a lot more understandable and a little bit more complex. Anyway, that's basically it. Subscribe, comment, rate. I thought I'd talk a lot longer, and I think I could, but I don't want to. That's it. Have a great day. Bye.